Wrongfully accused. A simple wife never expected her billionaire husband's shocking reaction. She lost everything in an instant, betrayed, humiliated, and left with nothing. But when her billionaire husband discovers the truth, his response changes her life forever. The Grand Palazzo Hotel in Rio de Janeiro sparkled with elegance as Jessica adjusted her red dress, feeling slightly out of place among the city's elite. At 28, she'd spent years selling handcrafted jewelry on Copacabana Beach, where her artistic talent caught the eye of Alexander, now her husband of 2 years. "Mrs. Martinez, your artisan display looks lovely." James Henderson, the event coordinator, gestured toward her corner of the charity gala. Jessica's handmade pieces had been selected as part of the evening's luxury auction, a dream opportunity she never imagined possible. That's when she noticed Victoria Ashworth examining her silver necklace display, her emerald eyes narrowing with suspicion. The renowned socialite held up her own diamond necklace, comparing it to one of Jessica's pieces. "This design, it's identical to my custom Cartier piece." Victoria's voice cut through the ambient chatter. "Did you copy this?" Jessica's heart raced. "No, I created this design months ago." "Security!" Victoria's voice rose sharply. "This woman is selling counterfeits at our charity event." All eyes turned to Jessica. She searched desperately for Alexander, but her husband was nowhere in sight. In seconds, her dream opportunity had become a nightmare, and she stood alone before a crowd of judging eyes. "Don't touch that." Jessica's voice came out stronger than she expected, stopping Victoria's hand mid-reach. The room fell silent, shocked by her sudden defiance. Victoria straightened, her emerald eyes glittering with malice. "Excuse me? After you've been caught copying my necklace, you dare to give me orders?" She turned to James. "Mr. Henderson, I demand this woman be escorted out immediately." Security guards moved closer, but Jessica stood her ground. "Those pieces represent years of my work, my creativity. I won't let you destroy my reputation without proof." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some guests were already pulling out their phones, recording the confrontation. Jessica could almost see her dreams crumbling, not just of the charity auction, but of her small business on Copacabana Beach. Who would buy from her after this? "Proof," Victoria laughed, the sound sharp and cold. "The proof is right here." She dangled her diamond necklace. "Anyone with eyes can see it's identical. Though I must admit, your copy is impressive. Perhaps you've had practice?" James Henderson stepped between them, his professional mask slipping slightly. "Mrs. Martinez, I think it's best if you leave quietly. We can discuss the return of your items after a proper investigation." Jessica felt the walls closing in. Where was Alexander? She'd seen him just moments ago, but now he seemed to have vanished again. Was he embarrassed by her? Ashamed to be associated with someone accused of counterfeiting? As security began to escort her toward the exit, Victoria's voice carried across the ballroom. "I wonder how many other wealthy women are wearing original Jessica Martinez pieces that aren't so original after all." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Jessica reached the doorway, her red dress now feeling like a target on her back. That's when she heard it. The distinct sound of a glass being tapped for attention. All heads turned toward the source of the sound, and Jessica's heart stopped. Alexander stood center stage, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alexander's voice filled the ballroom, calm and commanding. "I apologize for interrupting, but I believe we've all witnessed quite a spectacle tonight." His blue-gray eyes scanned the crowd before settling on Victoria. The security guards paused, uncertain whether to continue escorting Jessica out. James Henderson shifted uncomfortably, looking between Alexander and Victoria. "Alexander Martinez," Victoria said, a hint of recognition in her voice. "I wasn't aware you were connected to this situation." She gestured dismissively toward Jessica. A slight smile played at the corner of Alexander's mouth. "Connected?" "Mrs. Ashworth, I'm very much connected." He walked toward Jessica, each step measured and deliberate. "You see, The woman you're accusing of being a counterfeiter is my wife." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Victoria's emerald eyes widened slightly, but she quickly recovered. "Your wife? Well, that's unfortunate, but it doesn't change the facts about this copied necklace." "Facts?" Alexander's voice remained eerily calm. "Let's talk about facts." He reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew his phone. "Like the fact that I'm not just Jessica's husband. I'm also the CEO of Martinez Global Technologies, one of the largest tech companies in the Americas." The whispers in the crowd changed tone immediately. Jessica watched as realization dawned on faces around the room. Her husband wasn't just wealthy, he was one of the most powerful men in the hemisphere. "But more importantly," Alexander continued, his thumb scrolling through his phone, "I'm a man who believes in protecting artists and their original works, which is why every piece Jessica creates is digitally documented and time-stamped in a blockchain ledger the moment she completes her design sketches." He turned to Victoria, whose composed facade began to crack. "Would you like to see when this particular necklace design was registered, Mrs. Ashworth? Because I find the date rather interesting." Victoria's hand tightened around her necklace. "I don't see how that's relevant." "Oh, but it is," Alexander interrupted, his finger hovering over the phone screen. "It's very relevant indeed. Jessica registered this design 8 months ago," Alexander announced, projecting the blockchain record onto the ballroom's display screen. The timestamp and detailed sketches were unmistakable. "That's 2 months before your claimed commission date, Mrs. Ashworth." Victoria's perfectly manicured fingers began fidgeting with her pearl bracelet. That's impossible. I have documentation from Cartier." "You mean this documentation?" Alexander swiped to another image. "My security team found something interesting. The certificate you're referring to appears to have been digitally altered." James Henderson stepped forward, his professional demeanor now tinged with concern. "Mr. Martinez, these are serious allegations." "Indeed they are, Mr. Henderson. Just as serious as falsely accusing an artist of counterfeiting." Alexander's voice carried a steel edge beneath its calm surface. "But here's what fascinates me most. Why would someone of Mrs. Ashworth's standing need to discredit a rising artist?" Jessica watched as Victoria's emerald eyes darted toward the ballroom exit. The crowd had gone completely silent, hanging on every word. "Unless," Alexander continued, "there's something larger at stake. Something involving multiple pieces of jewelry, multiple artists, and multiple accusations over the past year." Victoria's face went pale. "You can't possibly—" "Oh, but I can," Alexander interrupted softly. "You see, when my wife told me about this opportunity to display at your charity gala, I did some research, and I found some very interesting patterns." He turned to address the crowd directly, his blue-gray eyes intense. "Would anyone here like to know how many other artists have been accused of copying at Mrs. Ashworth's events? Or should we discuss where the original pieces actually come from?" Victoria suddenly straightened, her composure returning like a mask sliding back into place. "Mr. Martinez," she said, her voice deadly quiet, "I suggest you choose your next words very carefully." Alexander smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, I always do, Mrs. Ashworth, and I'm about to become very, very specific." Over the past 18 months, Alexander's voice cut through the silence, 7 emerging artists have been accused of counterfeiting at events organized by the Ashworth Foundation. Each time their reputations were destroyed, each time their original pieces were confiscated as evidence, and each time, mysteriously similar pieces appeared months later in private collections across Europe. Victoria's composure cracked. A bead of sweat trickled down her temple despite the ballroom's careful climate control. "These are baseless accusations." "Baseless?" Alexander projected a new series of images. "These are the original designs, documented and time-stamped. And these," he swiped to the next slide, "are the pieces that appeared in auctions across Europe, sold through shell companies that, interestingly enough, all trace back to one source." James Henderson moved closer to examine the evidence, his professional mask slipping to reveal genuine shock. "Mrs. Ashworth, is this true?" Jessica stepped forward, finding her voice. All those artists. You destroyed their careers to steal their designs? Victoria's emerald eyes flashed with desperate anger. You have no idea what it takes to maintain status in this world. These little beach artists, playing at creativity, they deserve recognition for their work, Jessica interrupted, her voice steady. They deserve the chance to succeed without having their dreams stolen by someone who has everything but still wants more. The crowd began to murmur, phones capturing every moment. Victoria's carefully curated world was unraveling thread by thread. Security, James finally spoke. Please ensure Mrs. Ashworth remains in the building. The police will want to speak with her. But Victoria's hand was already in her clutch, pulling out something that glinted in the chandelier light. You think you've won? She hissed, her perfectly manicured grip tightening around a small object. You have no idea what you've just started. Alexander stepped protectively toward Jessica, his eyes fixed on Victoria's hand. The crowd gasped as they realized what she was holding. Sometimes, Victoria whispered, reputations aren't the only things that can be destroyed. Victoria held a small flash drive in her trembling hand, her emerald eyes wild with desperation. One click and every major fashion house in Europe receives proof that Jessica's entire collection is counterfeit. Fabricated evidence so convincing that no amount of blockchain records will save her. Put it down, Victoria, Alexander said calmly, though his jaw tightened. You've lost. Lost? Victoria laughed, the sound brittle and sharp. I've spent 30 years building my reputation in this industry. Do you think I did it by playing fair? Jessica stepped forward, her brown eyes meeting Victoria's gaze directly. The other artists you destroyed, they weren't your first victims, were they? The question hung in the air as Victoria's composure cracked further. You simple girl, she spat. You think your little beach jewelry makes you special? I've eaten alive dozens of artists more talented than you. James Henderson slowly approached from behind, signaling security. But Victoria noticed. Stay back, she held the flash drive higher. One move and I destroy everything. Not just Jessica's reputation, I'll expose every artist who's ever worked with the Ashworth Foundation. Nobody will survive the scandal. That's when Jessica did something unexpected. She smiled. Go ahead, Jessica said softly, reaching for Alexander's hand. Share your evidence, because while you were threatening us, you just confessed to everything, and every phone in this room recorded it. Victoria's eyes darted around the ballroom, finally noticing the dozens of phones pointed in her direction. Her perfectly manicured hand began to shake. It's over, Victoria, Alexander said, his voice gentle but firm. The only question is whether you'll face it with dignity. For a moment, Victoria stood frozen, her empire crumbling around her. Then her lips curved into a strange smile. Dignity, she whispered. Oh, darling, you have no idea what I'm willing to do to protect what's mine. In one swift motion, Victoria turned toward the jewelry display, her intentions clear in her eyes. Jessica lunged forward, but she knew she wouldn't reach it in time. Before Victoria could reach the display, James Henderson's quick reflexes stopped her. Security officers smoothly moved in, gently but firmly restraining her. The flash drive clattered to the marble floor as Victoria's carefully constructed facade finally shattered completely. All I wanted, Victoria sobbed, her silver hair falling from its perfect coif, was to stay relevant. These young artists, they're changing everything, making the traditional houses obsolete. As security led Victoria away, Jessica walked to her jewelry display. She gently touched each piece, remembering the inspiration and work that went into their creation. Alexander wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. I'm sorry I kept my identity hidden for so long, he said softly. I wanted to be sure you loved me for who I am, not what I own. But I never imagined it would put you in such a vulnerable position. Jessica turned to face him, her brown eyes meeting his blue-gray ones. You revealed yourself not to show off your power, but to protect artists everywhere. That tells me I fell in love with exactly the right man." James Henderson approached them, looking apologetic. "Mrs. Martinez, on behalf of the Grand Palazzo, I offer my deepest apologies. Your jewelry display will be the centerpiece of tomorrow's charity auction, if you'll still allow it." The crowd began to gather around Jessica's display, examining her pieces with new appreciation. Several guests approached with tears in their eyes, sharing stories of young artists they knew who had been similarly accused by Victoria. "Alexander," Jessica said, an idea forming, "what if we could help them all? Not just clear their names, but give them a platform to showcase their work?" Alexander smiled, understanding immediately. The Martinez Foundation for Emerging Artists does have a nice ring to it. As the evening drew to a close, Jessica stood proudly beside her jewelry display, no longer feeling out of place among Rio's elite. She had faced public humiliation and emerged stronger, ready to help others avoid the same fate. Her simple life as a beach artist had transformed into something greater, a chance to protect and nurture creativity itself. My friends, what would you do if you were in Jessica's shoes? Imagine being falsely accused, abandoned by those you trusted, and left to fight alone. Would you stand up and fight for the truth, or would you retreat into the shadows? How far would you go to prove your worth when the world turns its back on you? Tell us in the comments. We want to hear from you. And let us know, where in the world are you watching from? It's always inspiring to see how our stories connect people from different places, reminding us that no matter where we are, our struggles and triumphs unite us. If Jessica and Alexander's journey moved you, subscribe now to join our community of heartfelt stories. Here, we celebrate resilience, love, and the strength to rise even in the darkest moments. Because life isn't just about surviving, it's about finding the courage to transform. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's remind the world that appearances deceive, but true character always shines through. And don't go anywhere. Our next video will take you on another unforgettable journey of love, redemption, and the power of never giving up. Stay with us. Your next emotional journey is just a click away.